Hey, first time chatter and VA voter. I saw on LSU you hit the panic button if you thought the midterms election were not free and fair after the courts overturned the referendum in VA. Opening the voter rights act and various dreamers may have been free but not fair elections. Am I crazy when that happened? You're not crazy. You're a quick thing. Okay, let me just explain this. But I'm gonna have the exact dates in front of me, but it's important. So there's like two big Supreme Court rulings. This is why Supreme Court matters and why it's so shitty that we have such a bad Supreme Court right now. There was the Voting Rights Act from like the 80s. And basically it says, it doesn't matter what your intention is. If mathematically some minority group is being cut out with gerrymandering, like if you're drawing your lines on your map so that some group doesn't get to vote or doesn't get representation, which normally happens with like cities will cut certain lines through black neighborhoods to try and make sure they don't get a vote. That's the idea. Or, for example, how it feels like streamers don't get a vote in this country. Somehow they've drawn the line so that streamers don't have a majority vote, which feels really weird because we're the most important. It's like one of the worst. Anyway, some sort of group gets oppressed by gerrymandered lines is the idea. The Voting Rights Act was a way of saying like, hey, however the fuck you justify it, if mathematically it's not adding up, then the federal courts can strike down the way you've drawn your lines. And people on the Supreme Court, including Roberts, Republicans on the Supreme Court, have supported this act in the past, like in writing. And then now that we're approaching a really important midterm where Trump is likely and Republicans are likely to lose a lot of seats, suddenly everything has changed. And so, I don't know, very recently, the Voting Rights Act was struck down basically. And they said you can only be, your lines can only be overturned if they can prove intent. So they have to prove that you intentionally drew those lines to cut out some group from being able to vote. That's the idea. It can't just be math based. Proving intent is way, way harder. And generally you can just say like, nah, we didn't do it for that reason. We did it for X, Y, and Z. And like, it's just harder to. And so because this was struck down, all these states, basically almost every fucking state they can, even Democratic states too, are frantically rushing to redraw their lines to be more beneficial for their party. So Democratic states are redrawing their lines to be more beneficial for Democrats, so they get more seats. Republicans, same thing. But the problem is, this is just being real, many states have tried to add like bipartisan commissions and rules to stop gerrymandering. Some states have tried to do this. And the states that did this, I'm just gonna be honest with you, they're all blue. So all the states that have done this in the past to try and stop themselves from gerrymandering now face all these obstacles that don't let them gerrymander as much. Now, California did. California has just basically gerrymandered itself to add, 5 new Democratic seats. And then Utah did it to add 1. But because Republicans are doing it en masse, they've added like 15 so far, if you count like Tennessee and South Carolina, and 18. So they're getting plus 12, basically. If the math works out the way they are, right now the Republicans have gerrymandered themselves 12 new seats in Republican states that are gonna add more than the Democratic gerrymandering. This doesn't necessarily mean Republicans sweep in the midterms or anything. It just makes it a lot harder because of the way the lines are drawn. It's kind of fucked up. And so I think the way this Voting Rights Act has been reinterpreted is pretty whack, especially because you can even say that your intent is partisan. You can say, I'm doing this for partisan reasons, because there's another Supreme Court ruling which made it so that federal courts cannot strike down state level decisions on lines if they're for partisan reasons. So you can basically say openly, we're redrawing these lines to fuck over the other party and shit can't do about it. It's like a really frustrating set of court decisions that is leading to a lot of gerrymandering. And I'm not saying any state is really immune to this. I don't like it happening in Democratic states either. But the fact is, it's like this race to the bottom where all the states in the union that have any benefit to be gained are getting progressively more gerrymandered. And again, I'm sure you guys know what gerrymandering is, but the basic idea is like, here, I think we just need a picture. Worst gerrymandered states. Like, here's a great example from fucking North Carolina. You draw the districts in such a way, you make these weirdly shaped districts, so you capture all of the blue voters in one, so they only get 1 vote. So instead of like these people being spread out and maybe winning an election here and an election here and an election here, they just get 1 vote captured in one. And so all the states, both blue and red, are now, a lot of them are leaning towards doing this as a gear up for these important midterm elections. And it just feels like these are ways of subverting the will of democracy, especially going into a midterms where Republicans are pretty unpopular. Like, all votes that have been held recently have swung against them. So theoretically that would happen in the midterms, but if they draw the lines in the right way, it might be pretty hard. That number 4 and number 2, yeah, they're just dog shit. And this is like not even from recent. They've gotten so much worse. Why'd you say fucking North Carolina with such disdain? Because look at it. Look at the way they draw their map, bro. That's why I said fucking North Carolina. Isn't North Carolina where, am I wrong? Is this where Mr. Beast has his, there should be a Beast district. What if they drew a different one where it's all about the Beast and he gets a third party? The Beast compound. There could be some real fire there. The Beastrict. So voting rights that got repealed. States across the country are redrawing their lines. Republicans are plus 12. Yeah, it can backfire though. It can backfire though. If you're unpopular enough, let's say this is the way the vote breaks down. Let's say if you did all the voters normally, it's 60% blue, 40% red. But if you cut it this way, then blue wins 5 out of 5, which isn't really fair because 40% of the voters are red. It should be split 3-2, right? Or you could cut it this way and then Republicans win 3 out of 2. And that exactly, the way you slice it matters. But if you slice it like this, if you cut it so that every district has only like 49% of your opposition, so they don't get any voice, then if there's an unpopular enough president, you could have a catastrophic wipeout. Like if they try to gerrymander too much and spread all the opposition out across different districts so they don't have any voice, it can be really risky because if even a few percentage points swing against you, suddenly all these districts that used to be like diehards can wipe out. So there's a possibility this does backfire, to be honest, given how unpopular Trump is and how gas prices keep rising and yada, yada, yada. Wouldn't gerrymandering not work if people flip? Yeah, exactly. Just the way gerrymandering works is that there's groups of people who never flip in America. That's the truth, is that if you gerrymander right, there's just groups of people who don't flip. Didn't Texas redraw some of their districts based on, yeah, exactly. There's a perfect example, is that Texas just redrew their maps to be more pro-Republican. And they got +5 new seats, right? That should go red in this election. But a lot of the math based on that +5 seat is based on Latinos voting exactly the same way they voted in 24 elections. Will that happen? I don't know. I don't know. People in general are less happy with Trump, Latinos even more so. So are they gonna vote exactly the same way as they did? That's not necessarily true. And so it's possible this gerrymandering backfires after this election, we'll see. But it's a problem going forward? Yeah, dude. Gerrymandering is a problem going forward. 100%. Every state in the union is drawing its lines to make your vote matter less. Like if you're not part of the majority, it's cutting you out in a way that's not good. It's not good. Of course I don't agree with it. I'm just saying why it might not go. Maybe if another Trump song comes out. You're right. If they have a sequel to I will vote for Donald Trump, then perhaps they'll flip it back. What if we dissolve all the states and just be one state? Let's call it California just to piss everybody off. This is so random. Obviously, you're a proud Democrat. Do you believe Kamala would have been a good president, not compared to Trump currently? No. What the fuck are you talking about? What about what I said made me a proud Democrat? First of all, you haven't listened to what word I said. Second of all, compared to Trump, Kamala would be 100 times better compared to what he's done in the past year. It's one of the worst 1 years of president in history. Would she be a good president in the grand scheme of things? Probably not, no. But it doesn't matter. Like, of course I voted for her. I'm not kidding that a corpse would have been a better president than Donald Trump. I'm not kidding. Right now, in the past year, had someone done nothing, literally nothing, like showed up to the office and not done anything, we'd be in a better spot. Joe Biden, if he had said, you know what, I'm gonna sit this one out, this term out. I'm president, but I'm not gonna do anything. How can you prevent gerrymandering? What you really need to do is you have to win power at a local level, a state Supreme Court level, a national Supreme Court level, and then you have to voluntarily give up that power. You have to voluntarily make it harder for you to win again. It takes real sacrifice, and only a few states have even done it. And again, like I said, they're all blue, so. But yeah, you could theoretically get the power and then vote in new rules that make it so no matter who wins, they can't gerrymander. You can make it so that an independent review board an independent bipartisan review board sets the fucking lines or whatever. It's possible to do these things. It's just hard. And it's against incentives. Do you think if the Dems win the midterms, they'll do a federal ban on gerrymandering? It's just a federal ban on the way our system works, it's like, it's very hard to not end up in legal fights with states on every level. A federal ban on gerrymandering will probably just get blocked in state courts, even if they did it, which I don't think they would. Would you down for a simple majority to win the whole president? I mean, a better way to do it would be, the reason gerrymandering works, right, is this whole district level thing. It's a way to do it that is pretty cool. It's called party lists. I think it's called party lists. It's where we all get invited to a big party and you get put on the list. Party lists is like, let's say you're the Virginia Republican Party. You have a list of who your representatives will be. It's Representative A, Representative B, Representative C. And then everybody in Virginia just votes for the party they want. And so let's say Virginia voters go 62% Democratic, 38 Republican. Then you just get 38% of the seats. That's it. And then you get to put these representatives in. So you don't really vote for the individual so much, but I don't think people do that too much anyway. Doesn't Germany do a hybrid of that? Possibly, I'm not 100% sure. But like there's ways to do that to where just the voter share matters and then you get a percentage proportional to the voter share. I think that's a better system, but there's probably even better ones than this. It's just an example that I know. This gives more power to the parties. The parties already have an obscene amount of, like, what would that change? It gives them more power parties to pick representatives, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. The benefit of districts, you guarantee that there's someone for your representative? Yeah, I guess. But the problem is people just move to districts that are either not competitive for them so they can win and stack the deck, or they get into power in a district and then draw in such a way so they can never lose and they sit there forever. That's the problem. What you really want is to be able to vote people out if they're not doing the job you want. But it gets fucking hard, especially because in America, we're kind of polarized. So it's like you often end up with someone you don't love, but if you vote them out, you're going to get someone you really hate. So it's kind of fucked up, you know? It's like, shouldn't all districts be done by a third party? Yeah, but then you have to like, who's the third party? Who's unbiased? Can they be got? Can they be bought? It should be you. What if it was my chat? What if my chat draws the lines? I wouldn't be fair. I draw one big circle around America and voila. Throw red and blue buckets of paint at a map and call it a day. I still believe third party's coming. Third party's coming, bro. It's the lemon party. The lemon party.